What's going on, guys? Zuko back with another Dragonflight video. How is everybody doing? Hope you're doing well. I think the camera's all fricked. What's going on there? Does that look better? That's a little better, right? Looked all sideways to me. Hope you guys are doing well. We're going to talk about Unholy DK today. Something I've been avoiding. You know what's funny? I've been avoiding it. There's just been a lot of classes to get through and a lot of specs. And I actually was a little bit wary of Unholy DK because it does have a little bit more complication to it. Honestly, all the, both Frost and Unholy can sometimes be a little bit intimidating because they're a double resource class, right? And sometimes that can be kind of tough for people. You've got your runes and your runic power. It's tough. It's like Windwalker Monk has chi and energy. Sometimes that can just throw people off rather than having one resource like Fury for Warrior or Focus for Hunter. You've got two that you've got to manage. So let's talk about Unholy DK. We're going to talk about in a Mythic Plus environment. I just did a +10 on the beta with this thing, and it was insane. It was so good. So I'm going to show you guys a build that I think is going to work well in your Mythic Plus journeys. Again, I actually think there's multiple builds for Unholy DK, and the tree is very good. So let's talk about the build first of all, and then I'll get into some dungeon footage. So the build that I kind of looked at here was it's a Super Strain build plus a Dark Transformation build. So that's kind of the main two elements that we're looking at. You're going to have some pet damage and some Dark Transformation, Unholy Pact stuff going on. But you're also going to mostly have a lot of disease damage. And you have a bunch of talents that are buffing your diseases. Things like Morbidity. Things like Plaguebringer. Unholy Blight. We'll get to all of them in a second. And Bursting Swords. Let me just look at the class tree really quick. Let me make sure we cover this. So we'll just move right here. We'll do that for now. So obviously we've got our Ghoul. Some additions here in terms of the Death and Decay stuff. I talked about this in my Frost video, but Death and Decay for Unholy DK lets your Scourge Strike hit 7 enemies while you remain within Death and Decay. So as a much better cleave than the Obliterate build for Frost Decay. But again, Frost Decay has other ways of doing AoE, like Frostworm's Fury, Remorseless Winter, and your Frost Fever Dot, of course. So they haven't traditionally needed D&D as much. Some of you guys were saying in the comments yesterday about the video that Frost Decay did have Obliterate cleave, but only with the Night Fae Covenant. So they haven't truly had Death and Decay cleave with Obliterate unless you're playing Night Fae in Shadowlands. That's the only time, right? So if you wanted to play any other Covenant, then you lose that ability. So, which it was fair that you guys said that. But my point was just to say that over the years, traditionally, Frost DK has not had this cleave component like the other two specs, and Unholy gets it in the best possible way. So your Scourge Strike is going to hit 7 additional enemies while you remain within Death and Decay. Scourge Strike, of course, will cause 1 festering wound to burst. And if you have a bunch of festering wounds to burst, it will burst all of them. It will burst 1 from 7 enemies. If you have 7 festering wounds, 1 on each enemy, it will burst each one of those. So you have to think about the implications of that, right? That you've got things like bursting a festering wound deals 25% more damage and deals 2,100 shadow damage to all nearby enemies. So there's an insane combination here with Scourge Strike and the cleaving strikes that makes it really powerful. On top of that, Death's Echo, of course, gives you a second charge of Death and Decay, which makes it even more powerful. Finally, we've got things like Abominable Limb. I didn't take a Runic Attenuation, which might seem like a complete bad move on my part, and it might be bad. I'm going to look into this later, but I found I had tons of Runic Power generation. Tons and tons, because, of course, you've got a passive Runic Corruption. Each runic power you spend has a 1% chance to get you a rune regeneration rate. And then obviously the more runes that you're regenerating, the more runic power you're going to regenerate as well, which is really, really good. So there's a ton of runic power. I never felt like I was really out of runic power, and therefore didn't feel like I really needed runic attenuation. I felt like my top damage in the dungeon, I'll just show you right here. It was Epidemic, and Epidemic is a runic power spender. So I was able to press this 117 times in the dungeon, and it did insane amounts of damage. So really not a problem there. I did take Icy Talons, which is cool. And then mostly you're looking at Abominable Limb and then Soul Reaper. And honestly, guys, I had a really difficult time using Soul Reaper. it does 3,500 Shadow Frost damage, and then after 5 seconds, if the target is within execute range, it deals 16,000 Shadow Frost damage. I didn't feel like this was ever triggering when the enemy died. So if I put Soul Reaper on an enemy and they died, I don't think I got the trigger. But I want you guys to let me know, you guys who are like Unholy Death Knight mains, if I put this on an enemy and they die before the 5-second timer, do I still get the same effect? Because it didn't feel like I was getting it. My Soul Reaper damage, like, I don't even know if it's here. Like, look how low that is. So, like, I don't know. I feel like this is something you have to time perfectly. You have to, like, put it on them when they're at, like, 75% health, and then just nuke them down and try to get them to below 35%, but don't kill them, or else the effect won't go off. So let me know what you guys think about Soul Reaper. I didn't know how to use it properly, and let me know if my thinking on the matter is correct about if you die if you don't get the effect. So okay, that's the class tree. Let's talk about the build. Basically, you're looking at a bunch of Timmy buffs over here. I call our raised dead guy Timmy. So you have Dark Transformation, you have Ghouls attacks, adding a Festering Wound to the target, which is really, really nice. And then you've got down here Unholy Pact. That's kind of the finisher there. You do have Sudden Doom, which is nice. Epidemic costing no runic power was insanely good at certain points. What was our Sudden Doom uptime? It was about 10%, so it didn't trigger that much, but it's enough that getting a free Epidemic cast is really, really good. Then you have Unholy Pact, of course, which is going to give you that burning tether between you and your pet, sorry, and that's about 5% of my damage there. So let's make this bigger. I don't know why this is so small. There we go. That's better. Now, that's the right side of the tree. Then you've got Apocalypse in the middle, and I just went and got the Magus of the Dead. I could have got Ruptured Viscera, which maybe that's better. I feel like not knowing when your ghouls are going to expire, and therefore maybe having them expire after the fight is over, is like a really... That made me think twice about taking Ruptured Viscera, so I'm not really too sure about this one. But I just went for the safe Magus, and that was perfectly fine. Now, on the left side of the tree, we have our big AoE coming. We've got Outbreak with Unholy Blight. This is going to add an additional disease. Unholy Blight adds its own disease, which is going to really matter once we get to Morbidity. Diseased enemies take 2% increased damage from you per disease that they're affected by. So, essentially, on top of that, we're going to take Super Strain. So I'm going to pop Outbreak once, and it's going to add 3 diseases, and then Unholy Blight will add a 4th disease. Also, Unholy Blight just adds Virulent Plague all by itself, so you don't even have to press Outbreak. You can just run into a pack, press Unholy Blight. It will add all 4 of your dots. And then each enemy is now taking 8% more damage from you, which is a substantial amount. So that's the big part of the disease combo. On top of that, Festering Wound Pop is going to get your runic power. This is the other huge part. Bursting Sores. So bursting a Festering Wound deals 25% more damage and deals damage to all nearby enemies. This thing just absolutely slaps. Look how much damage that did. 8% of our damage. Absolutely insane. Of course, Epidemic is our top one here. It causes your Virulent Plague to flare up, dealing damage to the infected enemy and 1,000 additional shadow damage to all other enemies. And then I've got some bonuses here to tying into Dark Transformation. So Epidemic here, it increases the duration of Dark Transformation because of this here, Eternal Agony. Deathcoil and Epidemic increase the duration of Dark Transformation. So my Dark Transformation uptime was actually really good. You can measure that by looking at our Ghoulish Frenzy here. My Dark Transformation also gives me attack speed and damage for me and my pet. So I know that whenever my Dark Transformation guy was up, I'm going to have Ghoulish Frenzy. So that means my Dark Transformation uptime was about 41%, which is insane in Mythic Plus. That's really high. So this is kind of the combo. You have Dark Transformation. You put Unholy Pact out. It's going to do that automatically. And then you want to keep the uptime of it going by pressing Epidemic and Deathcoil. Just get the Dark Transformation duration even further. So he lasts 15 seconds on his own. You can easily get Dark Transformation to like a 20-second duration, maybe like 22 seconds. And then he's only a 45-second cooldown. So the real cooldown of Dark Transformation is probably something like 25 seconds when you think about it that way. So that's really cool. On top of that, Death and Decay damage has a chance to apply a Festering Wound, which is really good. So this is the This is the final piece. Now, I didn't take Vile Contagion in the dungeon, so just ignore this talent right now. I was just experimenting with it. Sorry, I'm moving my camera back over here. Actually, I'm so sorry about that, guys. I did not take Vile Contagion. This is all the bottom stuff. I'll get to this in a second. But what I want to talk about is our Death and Decay. Because of this, of course, Scourge Strike, it's incredibly strong how much damage it does. And this talent right here is really, really good. Scourge Strike causes your disease damage to occur 100% more quickly. This is kind of the final piece of the puzzle here. So I get all my diseases out, and then I want to press Scourge Strike. If my Scourge Strike is cleaving to 7 targets, then all 7 of those targets all the diseases on them are ticking 100% faster. So it's even more important for me to have Death and Decay down and to make sure that I can cleave my Scourge Strike so that everybody's taking more disease damage. So that's kind of how it works. Now, here's the middle part. Once again, Army of the Dead. Army of the Damned, I think, which is really good. Makes Apocalypse's cooldown down to 45 seconds, which I think is really, really strong. We've got Morbidity and Super Strain, and then we just have Dark Transformation, increases my attack. That's the ghoulish there. So this is the build, and let me show you what it looks like. Let's do a test here really quick before we get into the dungeon footage. I'll just show you kind of how it looks. Again, we did almost 50k overall in the Mythic plus 10 that I ran. I can't actually give you the entire plus 10 because it doesn't let us measure that way, but I did look at the overall data. We did almost 50k overall, which is really, really good. So let's look at it right here. We're going to start off with getting our diseases out, of course, and then we want to get Timmy up there, and then we want to press Epidemic as much as possible to make sure that we extend the duration of Timmy. I do also have Vile Contagion. We're going to give that a shot. So we can just run in and press Unholy Blight. We don't have to start with Outbreak. So we'll just go like this. Oh, Timmy's not even up busy. Here we go. Dark Transformation. Abomo Limb. Scourge Strike is clapping everybody because we have Death and Decay down. Now I'm going to try something here. I'm going to go like this, and then I'm going to do this. We would do Army of the Dead, of course. I forgot to do that. So my runic power is like pretty much capped. It's crazy. We're hitting everybody. Scourge Strike is consuming all of these different festering wounds. Sorry. That's the beauty of having Death and Decay down. It's like really, really incredible, actually, what that does. Let's add some more wounds here. Do this. Get Dark Transformation going again. So this is about 60k sustained damage on only 4 targets, guys. So there, we're hitting Scourge Strike, and Scourge Strike is consuming. Oh, I don't have Death and Decay down, so I'm going to chill on Scourge Strike, actually. There we go. Now we got Death and Decay up. Watch this. I'm going to put Death and Decay. I'm going to do Army first. We're going to Death and Decay. And then we're going to Scourge Strike, and it's going to consume all my Festering Wounds to do a lot of extra damage because it's cleaving because of Death and Decay. So very, very powerful there. And you can see our damage went way up after that. And then, yeah, we have all 3 of our diseases are there. This is just how the build works. It's really incredible. I like it a lot. I think it works well. You can see my runic power just never, like, I just have so much of it. It's crazy. Every time I press Scourge Strike, there's just way too much of it. I don't even know. It's crazy. Okay, we got Death and Decay down again. Let's make sure we're Scourge Striking. There we go. Much as we can. Dark Transformation's back. And then we're going to have our big cooldown here in a second, actually, which I think is actually quite good. Let's get 6 Festering Wounds out really quickly here. Then we're going to pop this. There we go. Now everybody has 6 Festering Wounds. And then we wait for Death and Decay. Okay, let's wait for Death and Decay. Then we're going to go Death and Decay and Scourge Strike like crazy with a Abomo Limb. Scourge Strike, Scourge Strike. Scourge Strike is going to consume all of our Festering Wounds. And our damage is really, really high. So that's the build. That's it right there. It's mostly Epidemic. You're just pressing Epidemic over and over again. Look at that. But look at the Bursting Sores. Every time you burst a Festering Wound, you're getting that crazy damage. All the different plagues are here. Unholy Pact is there. So that's what the damage looks like. So let's let's switch over and look at the dungeon footage here. Let me activate this over here. Okay. Let's skip ahead. We got to get our buffs. Here's the first little pack here. So we do have a bunch of affixes here, including the new Thundering one. So look at our damage already. I mean, this is only 3 target cleave. I'm just trying to burst. There, my Death and Decay finally gets put down. I wasn't very good at this right at the beginning, but we're still doing like 60k, which is awesome. Here's another bigger pack. The bigger the pack is for Unholy DK, the better. Like, if you can get a really big pack going, it's absolutely absurd. I don't know what's going on with my... Make this bigger, I guess. Let's do this. There we go. Did I fix it? Oh, camera. There we go. Oh, it's still messed up. I don't know what's going on. We're just going to have to deal with it. Oh, there's a sub. Look at that. So here's another bigger pack here. Let's see how big this one gets. This is only 3 targets right now, and then he brings them all in. So now I can just press Epidemic. I've got Unholy Blight going. I tried Soul Reaper right there, and I think it might have went off, but I don't know. I was really bad at it. Let's just be real. But we're doing 75k. Like, probably going to get up to 80k here. The damage just doesn't go down for Unholy DK. You just keep pressing Epidemic and Scourge Strike, and holy crap, man. Look at 80 up to 80k there. It'll get even better, too. So here's another pull. I forget how this one's pretty big. I get Death and Decay down, Unholy Pact, and then I've got Scourge Strike. Just mashing a Scourge Strike to try and hit everybody. Look at the Shaman, by the way. We get up to 100k DPS here, but the Enhancement Shaman is at 125. Freaking awesome. We get past him because again we have better sustained damage. The longer the fight goes on, usually the better it is for us. And then he gets past us again. It was great. We were both fighting. 111k right there. Insane damage. Okay, here's the boss fight. This is like pure single target, right? So I don't have Unholy Pack right off the bat, which kind of sucks, but I'm going to pop Army of the Dead. We're going to be good to go. Here it comes. This is pure single target. So it's good to see this in action. And, of course, I'm terrible at this spec. All you Unholy DK mains, you're going to be playing this better than me, so don't worry about that. You can pop your defensive here. Obviously, we have Anti-Magic Shell to just absorb all the damage from that stuff right there, which is awesome. We're doing 50k right now, which is very good. I did not expect to be... I haven't even... Yeah, I did not expect to do that much. I guess it's just the Army of the Damned, I think, is the main thing. Oh, opened up chat channels there. I don't know why. But again, you can see I've got Unholy Pact going again, which is really, really good. Our damage will fall off a little bit here because the room starts to get kind of covered in stuff. There's the Thundering Affix. We have to take... Yeah, we shouldn't have taken it so early, but there you go. I do Death Strike here to stay alive. Just a little bit. And I have Anti-Magic Shell back, which is really good. I don't know. I didn't have Anti-Magic Zone for this dungeon because I'm a really bad DK. So that's my fault. But there you go. We did about 41k there on a single target boss, which is like... For Unholy DK, I think they're known for having incredible amounts of uncapped AoE, right? And maybe not always having the best single target. So it's really good to see how good the single target can be. But the basic strategy, guys, is you just get your diseases down, and then you get Death and Decay down, and you Scourge Strike. Scourge Strike, Epidemic. Scourge Strike, Epidemic. You're just bouncing between the two.
What damage did that just do?
I'm not sure what I was looking at there.
Sweeping Claws. Oh, my God.
Yeah, my pet was hitting really hard. Here's another good pack. This is about 6 mobs. One thing that's interesting is if you have mobs that move around a lot, you can be kind of in trouble because you want them to stay in your Death and Decay. This has forever been a Death Knight problem, right? So that is one issue. Now, the tank did a great job of actually keeping them all right here for me, but sometimes that can be a little bit frustrating. Now, we have the Storming mechanic. I think the Priest yoinks me here. Oh, no, he just runs into me. So that was really good by the Priest there. My debuff was about to wear off, and I would have got stunned. But we're doing 75k. Once again, incredibly strong AoE damage. Here's this little mini-boss guy. Remember, you can just tuck up against the wall. I pop Unholy... my Unholy Dark Transformation and try to do... Our damage is okay, like 24k. If we don't have our big cooldowns, certainly our single target damage isn't super great. But a lot of your damage is just passive. Like, with Super Strain, you're just getting all this disease damage. Excuse me. Super Strain plus Unholy Blight. You're just getting so much extra damage for free, you know? It's just not really that hard to do damage. There's 65k just on this
Warbreaker.
We'll just punch our way through this. We'll get through this little bird boss. Here's a big pack here. This is, what, 6 guys? 7 guys? Unholy pack once again. You're just always burning down
there, I guess.
AoE. Look at the Shaman. Yeah, he went crazy on Doomwinds there. Did 100k once again. I don't know what that is. I think that's just him doing Doomwinds.
Doomwinds must have hit like 5.
Oh, he did pop a sentence as well. So he must have got a DRE proc. He's got a sentence there. So it's got to be like DRE plus Doomwinds.
Kind of a...
So here's Karoth. Once again, we have a lot of mitigation for this boss as a DK. You have anti-magic shell, anti-magic zone. You can always sacrifice your ghoul if you want to for healing, and you can also pop Icebound Fortitude. So you're just, as always, DKs are insanely tanky. We're doing about 33k here. We have army. We popped army right now, so our damage is going to go up. But now my damage is going to go down a little bit because I'm trying to do the mechanics correctly. And I also have the thundering mechanic. I got to go drop it off at the tank here. So I drop it off. But now look at our damage. It's still hovering around 30k because my diseases are the main source of my damage in reality, and my pet. I mean, not that I don't need to be there, but my diseases are still ticking, and that's really, really helpful as a Unholy DK. It's just your diseases are so good. They're doing so much extra damage that it's really helping to buff my damage, even if I have to do mechanics. So kind of love that. Some classes and specs, like let's say Fury Warrior, for example, they need to be on the enemy like at all times, or they're literally doing 0 damage. Whereas for Unholy Death Knight, you're just, you got your Unholy Pact burning the enemy. You got your diseases doing damage. You're just always kind of there doing damage.
What to do.
So yeah, it's really good. Now, here's the crazy part. This is like a ton of AoE here, and we just start doing ridiculous amounts of damage. So just watch our damage go here. I think I pop Unholy Pact here. There we go. Everybody's got our diseases. Abomo Limb. And I just start pressing Epidemic. Boom! Look at that moment right there. Watch this. Watch when I press Epidemic. It's like right here. You ready? I'm doing 75k. 111k in one Epidemic press.
Oh god, our damage. Our damage, our damage, our damage.
160, 180k. 190k. We almost did 200 there. Oh my god.
Look at our damage. Okay. That'll do, I guess.
It's crazy, man. It's absolutely crazy. Again, you can run away from these mechanics and press Epidemic and still do damage, which is a really good advantage of Unholy DK. They kind of have like a pseudo-ranged like playstyle in that sense that you can do a lot of damage when you're away from the enemy, which is fine. 112k once again. We were doing 120k. It's just outrageous, the damage, guys. It's really, really good. So another big pack here. Again, the other cool thing is that you can kind of funnel into one target. So here we have one big target and a bunch of little guys. I'm just going to make sure I'm putting all my big festering wounds on the main guy, and then I'm going to Scourge Strike and cleave those festering wounds to everybody else, along with Epidemic, of course. But see, he's got 3 stacks of Scourge Strike now, and I can use, or sorry, he's got Festering Wounds, and I can use Scourge Strike right now with D&D down to cleave that. But again, you're kind of funneling into one target, but you're cleaving to everybody else, which is really, really good. Almost do 100k once again.
It's insane, man. It's just insane.
It's a lot of damage, man. Here's another boss fight. This is single target, of course, until he spawns all of his mobs. So I do just pop all my cooldowns and go. I think I summon Army here, or Apocalypse. Hopefully I do. Here comes all the ads. You ready for this? Watch my damage go up. Watch how quickly I kill these ads. This is insane. Epidemic. Epidemic.
Oh my god, our damage.
It's crazy.
We just killed everything all by ourselves.
We really did. Like, we really did.
Holy crap.
The damage
That is insane.
outrageous.
Holy moly, dude.
Okay. That was just our Epidemic damage right there. I just kept pressing it. I just kept pressing it over and over again.
Okay.
Okay, here's some. This is kind of some. This can be difficult trash near the end of the dungeon for casters in particular, but for us, we don't really care. We're just gonna murder it all. 80k, no big deal.
Kind of much earlier.
We'll skip ahead here. This is the last pack before the boss. We do end up messing up the boss fight actually, so I'm gonna skip past that. We end up covering the entire room. So everybody dropped their puddles right near the boss.
What is happening?
So we totally screwed it up, and yeah. It's a yikes. It's yikes. I actually love the mechanic on this boss fight. I think it's quite cool. Let's skip ahead here. Oh, here's the better fight. Here's the last boss fight. So, what do I think about Unholy DK? Well, the reality is that this is just one build, and I think there are a couple different builds you could do. You could do like a full pet build with Gargoyle, and Dark Transformation will give your Gargoyle and your Army of the Damned guys like damage and attack speed, and it for like 30 seconds. There's a really cool combo there. You could definitely do that if you want to. I'm kind of splitting the difference here between doing some diseases and also doing the dark transformation stuff. I think you could go even harder on one or the other. It's really up to you what you want to do. You can do sort of a cleave style with Scourge Strike where you're cleaving with Death and Decay down and getting a bunch of extra damage that way. Or you could just do like a super strain build like I'm doing here with a whole bunch of diseases and kind of have the big mass AoE and then have the Scourge Strike cleave as like an additional bonus to that. But really, there's a ton of options for you guys to pick from, and either way, it's not actually very complicated to play this spec, and it does so much damage. In AoE, you're just bouncing between Scourge Strike cleave in D&D and Epidemic. That's basically what you're doing. And man, it was so incredibly strong, and I had so much fun playing it. So really, I loved. This is not probably something that I would main because I have a lot of other mains on the docket, of course. But this is really good in Mythic Plus. And if you were somebody who just did Mythic Plus as a main, this would be an incredible spec. So let me know what you guys think about Unholy DK. Let me know what you think about all the stuff I've talked about today. And in the class tree,
Nice.
let me know what you think about let me just check here. Soul Reaper, of course, because I don't really know how to use Soul Reaper correctly, and I just want to make sure that I get that down. So thank you guys so much for watching once again. I love you all. I'll see you in the next one.